Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is the newest and latest movie in the MCU and the final and third installment of the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy slash franchise. Hey everybody, I am Robert Storms. Welcome as I give you my out of the theater reaction. I know the title is review, but let's be honest, out of the theater reaction doesn't get as many views. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it. So this is my Guardians of the Galaxy out of the theater reaction slash review. I literally just got home from the theater, seeing the movie, super hyped for the film, and I'm gonna give you the good and the bad and my overall thoughts of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is the third and final installment. Not only that, also the final installment of James Gunn in the MCU as he transitions now over to the DC universe to build up that cinematic universe. And I have to say, I think the DC universe is in good hands with James Gunn. So Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I have a up and down relationship with Guardians of the Galaxy. I absolutely loved the first film. It is still in my top 10 favorite MCU movies of all time. The second film, not so much. The second film kind of went down a little bit for me, only because I just felt it was too jokey. It tried to hit some serious tones in it, but then they just kind of like negated it with a joke. Whereas, this film, I think they finally found that right mixture. I think they had that right mixture of serious drama and great storytelling and knew when to not spoil the scene with the joke. And that's what I really appreciated most out of this movie was the balance. There was some great balance in this movie. This movie is really, really dark sometimes, and I think they did a real good job of not leading too far into the dark, but also be able to tell this emotional story involving Rocket's backstory and what he means to the crew of the Guardians of the Galaxy, yet was still able to put bits of humor in the movie, but the humor didn't over negate it, right? Like, that's the way I felt Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was. We have this serious moment with Quill and his father, and he finds out the real truth about his mother, and they cut to like a David Hasselhoff joke, and I think that it spoiled the moment, and we had no parts like that in this. We didn't have no like Thor Love and Blunder type parts with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and that's something I really enjoyed with this movie. Sure, the jokes were still there, but I think they were dialed back a lot, and I really think James Gunn himself found a good, nice medium line to toe that line and give us a serious yet also entertaining and humorous movie. There's really nothing negative for me to say about the film. I'm pretty sure the more I sit, this was more than a theater reaction. Out of the theater reaction, I would have more of a negative impact. Right now, I'm really leaning on to the positive side. I have a couple negatives that I will talk about, but I really, really came out of the theater enjoying myself. That's the most important part, is when you come out of the theater and you enjoy yourself, then you can really appreciate the movie for what it was. And I really liked a lot of stuff in this movie. I think Rocket and his backstory was so interesting and so fascinating, and it was really the crutch of the movie. And I really liked the villain of the High Evolutionary. I think he was one of the best villains we have gotten, at least since the Mandarin in the Shang-Chi movie. I can't think of any other villain in this phase other than Kang and Ant-Man Quantumania that was a really good villain that I was really intrigued and want to see more of, and I hope we see more of. And that's not a spoiler, because we might be able to see more of them, we might not be able to see. So it's just like, I don't know. And I hope they choose to show more of the High Evolutionary. I think the actor really brought a great performance, and I really enjoyed every time him and Rocket were on scene. Like, I think this guy just really kind of hammed it up sometimes, but he also delivered a great menacing performance. And the only time I can think of in the past couple phases post Endgame was the Shang-Chi villain Mandarin, and of course, Jonathan Majors, Kang, and Ant-Man 3. Other than that, that was really it. But yeah, High Evolutionary was a great villain. I definitely give him the 2 thumbs up. And I thought everybody else in this movie was really good. I thought, Carrie Gillian, I hope I pronounced her name right, as Nebula. I always liked her from the very first movie. I think she really elevates herself in this film. I love the whole, Gamora and Star-Lord relationship, non-relationship. I liked everything. I liked the family dynamic of this movie. And that's what really kind of, is the heart and soul of Guardians of the Galaxy, is that family dynamic. And overall, the movie ended on a note where I am satisfied, and I hate to see it end, but I am satisfied with the ending. And I'm looking forward to seeing what's next, whether it involves the Guardians of the Galaxy or these characters or not. I think it ended on a very, very high note, and I think it's one of the better trilogies within the MCU. When you look at like Captain America, I think is the pinnacle of the trilogies in the MCU, followed by none other than the Iron Man trilogy. And then I definitely think it's like the third best trilogy. It's definitely better than the Ant-Man trilogy. It's better than the Thor trilogy with Love and Thunder. I really think Guardians of the Galaxy is a pinnacle of the trilogies in the MCU, and that's a good thing. I think James Gunn definitely nailed it. I think James Gunn really showed that he is a comic book fan and knows how to bring comic book characters to the big screen in a great way. Now, with that said, let's get to some of the negatives. My biggest negatives is Adam Warlock. I'm sorry, I hate to come out and say it. Adam Warlock is one of the characters that I've been wanting to see in the MCU for the very, very longest time. And the end credit scene of Guardians Volume 2, where they reference Adam Warlock, I was like, yes, I'm ready for this. Come on, hit me with Adam Warlock. And they hit us with Adam Warlock, and it was like a wet blanket. It really was just like, not that Will Poulter did a bad job as Adam Warlock. James Gunn really didn't write anything interesting for Adam Warlock. Adam Warlock is like this like overpowered, kind of badass guy, man. He played a huge part in the Infinity Saga. Of course, we're not in the Infinity Saga, so it was really like kind of weird having him there. There really was no purpose other than I feel like they kind of had to pay off that end credit scene from Guardians 2, because I think other than the first part of the movie, like the first 20 minutes of this movie, if you take him out of that part of the movie, then his entire presence is pointless for the entire film. Like, Adam Warlock does not need to be there for the rest of the film. He does one thing to a character that sets up the plot, and that is it. That's all. That could have been any character. Any character could have done it. It did not have to be Adam Warlock. That could have literally been anyone. Adam Warlock was completely misused and underused in this movie, and that's a shame because I like Adam Warlock and I wanted to see what he could do on the big screen. And I think Will Poulter would have been able to pull it off really well if he was given the right material. It's just one of those things that the Marvel Cinematic Universe seems to do. Like, we get these characters and you think these are going to be some great characters, and they kind of just like misuse them. Unfortunately, that's what they do that a lot nowadays, right? Like, they have a track record of, hey, we're going to put this character in, and you think this character is going to be badass, and then they just kind of like misuse the character, much like they do with the Hulk. And another negative I have with the movie is the runtime. I definitely feel like the movie kind of dragged a little bit in the second act of the film. I do think there's like 10-15 minutes that you could have easily cut from this film in the second act, and it would have been a more clean cut, more coherent movie. Not that the movie wasn't coherent, so maybe that was a wrong word to use to describe it. I do think the movie had a nice flow to it, but right in the middle there's a scene where they're all dressed up in these colored suits and they're going to this thing because they're trying to find something, and I'm trying to be very, very vague, but I think that scene really kind of like lingered on too much. There was a cameo by someone who surprisingly cameoed in the first movie of Guardians of the Galaxy. He cameoed in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and Ronan the Accuser killed him. So if you guys know what I'm talking about, you know who I'm talking about. But he appears in a bigger cameo in this movie, and there's like this running joke with working like with special people and the family, and I felt like the joke ran on a little long, and I felt like that section of the movie ran on a little longer than it really needed to be. So other than the misuse of Adam Warlock and the kind of like lingering kind of like what's going on in the second act, you come on guys, start looking at, like, that was the time where I looked at my watch like, okay, because I felt like that could have been trimmed a little bit. But with that said, it's the third final movie. You want to be able to put as much stuff in there as you can. I just think in hindsight, me as a viewer, I looked at the second act as, okay, we could have, really kind of slimmed this out and really cut out some of the fat. So overall, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I was very, very impressed with it. Had a lot of fun. That's the thing. When I go out of the theater, I want to know I had fun, and I had a lot of fun. That's the most important thing when you're going to see a movie is, did you have fun, and would you see it again, and did you get your money's worth? And I think I definitely had fun. I would see it again. and I got my money's worth, and I enjoyed it. Other than, Adam Warlock not doing so great and kind of like misused, and then the second act, I felt like the movie was a real step up from the second film. It really capped off that trilogy very, very well, and overall, I am very much pleased. But that is my thoughts. That is my review / out of the theater reaction. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please be sure to smash that like and subscribe button. Let's have a great conversation in the comment box below. Have you seen the movie? Have you not? What are some of your favorite parts in the movie? List those comments in the comment box below, guys. Hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe out there. And until next time, as always, I am Robert Storms, and that's my opinion.